on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:36 as we're chugging along here on a Tuesday morning. It's a loaded show, so we need to, stick around, not get distracted by that whole commuting and everything. Coming up at 6:35, Mark Miller, Pacific Legal Foundation, on that SCOTUS argument yesterday over homeless. 7:35, Adam Gillette, Accuracy and Media. 8:05, Andy McCarthy on the Trump trial. And 8:35, Philly Ocean, Yachtly Crew. Can't wait to talk to him. They're coming back to town. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock, and you hear the Philadelphia Freedom. That can mean only one of two things. Well, three things, I guess. We could have Elton John. We could have Mark Levin. Or we'll settle for Chris Stigall, who is the morning show host there on AM 990, The Answer in Philadelphia. Good morning, Christopher. How are you, sir?
Although I can get awfully angry, and I like wearing bedazzled things, if that helps.
Just like Mark Levin.
Right, and Elton John. Or maybe both. I don't know. Who am I to judge? Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Chris.
Have we ever seen them in the same room together?
We've just spent, they have similar hairlines.
Yes.
We just spent
Me too.
The last couple segments talking about this story. You comb the local news outlets in the Philadelphia area, and it's like, it was a cat fight. Two girls got into an altercation at this middle school, with one of them beating the other over the head with a Stanley. Turns out one of the girls, the one doing the beating, was a boy. It's insidious, isn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm getting reports today now that this boy was involved yet again in attacking, this time, some officers investigating this case. And they have, the worst still is, this seems to be another story of somebody that they have been not only trying to hide their identity since this attack, but they have quite a laundry list of bad behavior and attacks prior at another school in the same district before this biological boy was transferred to this school, and 2 days later attacked a girl with a Stanley mug. So this is a lunatic kid. I mean, a really unwell kid who also pretends he's a different gender. Yeah. And yes, beat a girl, a 13-year-old girl with this Stanley mug, and apparently went after a cop now too. And still at this hour, you can't find a media outlet to call this biological boy a boy.
Chris, it also turns out, I'm reading some of the research that's been done on the situation. This boy has been permitted to use the female restrooms at that school. This is incredibly dangerous. Has there been any statements from the school? I mean, this video that this girl, where this girl is talking, I mean, she names names. She's so brave, but she names names, and she says 5 hours. So what has been the response from the school district?
The Benbrook Middle School, where this actually occurred, it's in the North Penn School District, which is in Montgomery County. They continue to assure parents. They had a school board meeting last week where parents spoke. I interviewed a couple of the people who spoke at the school board meeting last week. They said it's been completely insufficient. The superintendent flatly denies that this student was transferred for previous violent behavior.
Well, this sounds just like Loudoun County,
it does.
Virginia.
I know,
this
exactly.
Is right out of our playbook.
Yeah, you guys know this story well. And so the superintendent won't acknowledge it. The board just stares kind of blank-faced at parents who are, enraged as they say, this is a biological male attacking these girls with a hit list. And they just stare blankly as though they've seen an alien. They just either won't acknowledge it, they're willfully obtuse. I don't know if they're terrified. I don't know if it's pure politics, all of the above.
Yeah.
But it's chilling their callousness. And I will say, guys, that it was so infuriating to one shop owner. There's a guy called Yanni Lambros in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, in this school district, who was so ticked off. He's a coffee shop owner. He has no kids. And last week on Libs of TikTok, his speech at the school board meeting went viral. He was so livid. He just spoke out on behalf of the community and the kids in the district. He has no kids there. This is a coffee shop owner. I had on yesterday, and I said, everyone should go buy a cup of coffee today.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear that he had a lot of great business yesterday.
Chris, you and I are old-fashioned, and back at our time, if a 13-year-old boy beat the hell out of a 13-year-old girl at a public school, that would be an absolute outrage. Women would be marching in the streets, protect our daughters. the fact that this boy happens to wear a skirt going to school and wants to, call me Loretta instead of Larry, that in some way that mitigates this. It is like, well, girls will be girls. I mean, that's sort of gross, isn't it, considering the reality of what we're dealing with here? Where are the feminist organizations? Where are the women's groups that want to protect our girls?
Right. It's a great question, and I talked with one of the parents yesterday, Alyssa Santiago, who was quoted in the original story. This is a woman whose daughter was also on this supposed hit list of this boy, and she spoke at the school board meeting, and I asked her, this is going to sound very familiar to you guys. I said, Ms. Santiago, what do you know about this board? And she said, to be perfectly honest with you, this is the first school board meeting I've ever attended.
Yeah.
And I said, that's okay. I don't judge you for that, because until COVID, I had never paid attention to my local school board either.
Right.
But my point is, she's engaged. She's waking up. She's mad as hell.
Yep.
And again, I don't have to tell you guys about Loudoun County. That's all it takes.
This is how it changes. This is how we fix it. Yeah. So let's talk about your situation, because this happened to you during COVID. Famous. I don't know how much our audience knows about it. I know you and I have talked about it quite a bit. You made so many life changes to protect your children from what you saw going on in the public schools. You even relocated. And now you've taken on this new charge that you're sort of an evangelist on this idea through the Herzog Foundation.
I'm awful proud of it, and thank you for mentioning it. I will tell you that stories like these, stories like Loudoun County, that have been covered exclusively and often at our publication, readlion.com. The Herzog Foundation is a foundation dedicated to spreading, growing, catalyzing Christian education. And if you are a Christian educator, if you are thinking about maybe starting a homeschool or your own private pod school or your own Christian school, or maybe you're already in an existing school, or maybe you're a public school teacher thinking about getting into Christian education, or all of the above, or if you're a board member or an administrator or a teacher and you'd like further training, the Herzog Foundation exists to grow, spread, and catalyze Christian education in whatever form. Agnostic about the form, but growing it and spreading it. And so if you go to herzogfoundation.com, you will find all kinds of useful tools to start your own Christian school if you'd like, an 8-step guide to start homeschooling if you'd like. And for people that have already got existing schools, if you can travel to any of the 100 trainings they host all over the country, the Herzog Foundation pays for the entirety of the training and the lodging and the meals. It's something that the founder of the Herzog Foundation was important to him before he died, and that's what he left his fortune to do.
And Chris, it is even more important now after the Title IX ruling, where, I think a lot of people who say, get your kids out of public school, but you also can't transfer them into a private school that takes federal funding, because all of these insane Title IX rules apply if you get any federal funding. So looking at homeschooling, looking at starting your own school that have your rules is more important than ever. Did you have any reaction to, of course you did, but what was your reaction to the new Title IX rules?
Yeah, that's another stunning development. Of course, we're actually very happy to be bringing Riley Gaines in this summer to the Herzog Foundation headquarters to discuss this very thing. Obviously, the champion of this issue. This is the issue, along with this story we were just talking about in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. These are the issues, I think, that offset any discussion of Republicans having women troubles, as far as I'm concerned politically.
Right.
I think this is the story. I think this is the storyline, protecting our women and girls. I think this is the political pushback. Quite frankly, I hate to say it this way, but it's a political gift if the Republicans know how to seize upon it.
Well, that's a big if. You and your incredibly superior wife, Christina, have been doing a fantastic podcast about this stuff and talking about your personal journey. Tell everybody how they can catch up with what you're doing, and also, again, directly connecting with Herzog Foundation.
Really proud of this. We have the Herzog Podcast Network as well. If you go to herzogfoundation.com, you can read our news site, readlion.com, and the podcast network. Yes, my wife, Christine, and I host Making the Leap, which was a show we started a little over 100 episodes ago, encouraging parents like us who have never explored Christian education to make that leap and try it. If you're in a public school setting and you just know it's tugging at you, you got to do something, this podcast is for you. But we've also got a homeschool podcast now called Heart and Soul. We've signed on with our friend Sam Sorbo She's part of the podcast network now. A lot of great resources, I hope, for parents either in it or thinking about it at HerzogFoundation.com.
Well, I'm just so glad that you got yourself a podcast because, honestly, your career has been in the toilet for so long. And I'm glad that you're finally, keeping you busy, which is nice. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys calling attention to it. You've done yeoman's work there in the Washington area well before this conversation, but it was really the epicenter of where it all began, and it can't die now because it's still very much a problem. Obviously.
That's right. And winning a presidential election is not going to fix it. This needs to be fixed in city by city, community by community, neighborhood by neighborhood, home by home. Thank you, Christopher Stigall. Chris Stigall, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
It's 5:47. We better get straight to Jamie Whitten now in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.